And welcome to Pro Wrestling 101. I'm your host, JP John Paz from the Two Man Power Trip. Joining me today is Mr. TMPT, Mr. HMG, Mr. Promo Sapien himself, Mr. RBV. Rick, what's going on? How you doing today, sir?
Paz, my friend, great to be back with you. I feel like it's been forever since we sat down on
Yeah.
these microphones and had a conversation. But today, as we record a little Pro Wrestling 101, a little a Saturday school, taking me back to the days of when I would get in trouble. And Paz,
Oh.
did you ever have to go to Saturday school back in the day?
I used to get in a lot of trouble. Suspended a few times, shit like that.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Big
Paz,
prankster.
the troublemaker.
Big prankster.
Wow.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Okay. I guess. Hey, you've grown up. You've matured. I never would have guessed that, man. Mr.
Yes.
Calm, Cool Collective over there.
Yeah. Oh my God. Me and my buddies. Whew, man. Especially being to when we're recording Mischief Night. This was like our favorite night of the year. We actually one time got a cop involved to help us prank someone else on Mischief Night after we just did mischief. So we were even playing the cops a little bit. It was awesome. Those were the days.
Mischief Night. Okay, see, usually around
Oh,
Halloween,
you're not a Jersey guy, obviously. I am, but it's funny. I feel
yeah.
like only people from New Jersey know what Mischief Night is. Basically, the night before Halloween, you go out and you throw eggs, you TP the people's house, like you pull all these crazy pranks. But no other state has that. I don't know why. It's just New Jersey. It's just me and my nutjob friends knew about it.
Hey, Mischief Night. You show up the next day, and it looks like you guys did $50,000 worth of renovations. I mean, that's what kind of place New Jersey already is. I can see that
Yeah.
flying there.
Oh yeah, yeah. But I feel like a lot of other people don't. Maybe California or something. But I feel like New Jersey is one of the only places where, like, because somebody else from another state said to me the other day, "Go Mischief Night. What's Mischief Night? I go the night before Halloween. You go out and you pull pranks." And I'm like, the hell are you talking about? That's
See,
not
to me,
true.
I was, a bit of a, I don't want to say a hooligan myself, but I will go with your term, prankster there.
Yes, yes.
But I would stay away from this time of year because it was so obvious, and I knew who to look at. So,
Yeah.
when me and my crew would step back, like it wasn't us. We had our alibi straight. We would do it at the off times when you least expected it.
Me and my
Hey, it's
buddy
hey, and
were.
obviously you can tell as I'm dressed, I just came in from outside. As I'm sure it is there, that weather is taking
Oh,
a turn. A little chilly, man. A little chilly to
oh
be
yeah.
out running around after dark.
Oh yeah. I was gonna say me and my buddy would always have a game plan. We knew, eyes are on us, so we'd always have a game plan to get the hell out of there and make sure that we didn't get in trouble. Sometimes we did, though. Unfortunately, sometimes we did get in trouble. But let's focus today, even though it's awesome to talk about Mischief Night and pranks, but let's focus today on Pro Wrestling 101 and let's talk about promos. Let's talk about promos on the indie scene. From my personal experience, I've been a manager, so to speak, for a bunch of indie promotions. Really, one main promotion. I did some Wildcat, did some PCW in West Virginia, Virginia area, and it to me, like the promos, like they'd have TV, local TV and stuff, but to me, the promos were not scripted at all. It was very much like, hey, here's bullet points here on a little index card. Here's a few lines you should say, and the market you're pushing towards, or the TV station that we're a part of. But it was never a scripted. Hey, you got to say this, this, and this. It was always not free range, so to speak, but you not WWE style where it's like you got to read off this paper and make sure you get it exact. There was nothing like that.
But and I like how you mentioned there when you're talking about the indie promotion, and even you guys had a little bit of television, and it's back in the day, and now we've seen it evolve where we got such a tremendous reach with social media. So there's so many more eyes that are catching those promos. Well, let's go back to the very again. What's old is new. We just got to put a fresh coat of paint on it. We can learn from the past. We have to rely on the foundations, the pillars that got us here. And one of the oldest adages in professional wrestling is talking them into the building. And that is of the utmost importance when a talent is cutting these promos when we're talking about small independent wrestling. This is one of those attention grabbers that you're going to be able to wow individuals. You're going to entice them, invoke that emotion where they're going to want to find out more information and then hopefully purchase a ticket for that show and then continue to come back and continue to follow and continue to support. And that really is where the importance lies inside of a promoter relying on talents to provide a quality promo to help promote those shows.
Do the promoters really like hone in. Like, you know how WB has the agent or whoever, like the Bruce Pritchard or it could be Billy Kidman, whoever's there, like with the camera guy and like really directing the scene, or is really the indie scene? Is it just like, here's the camera, go, and like there's not a big focus, like, oh no, reshoot, recut, you got to make it longer, got to make it shorter. I mean, it's different on the indies, right?
I see a little bit of a balance of that. And before we jump into like the strategies there, Paz, I did want to
Mhm.
mention, and this could be a completely different topic here for Pro Wrestling 101. And I think you've touched on it a little bit in the past, and maybe something you revisit is, and maybe get into more detail with someone like a Ben Hameen, who's so tremendous in what he does. The art of the promo is it begins with the very basics of really understanding your persona, who that character is. Have you written a bio? Do you know their history? Do you truly know where they come from, what they went through in life? And it's everyone always says, "Well, that's who I am." And that's wrestling. You take that real personality, you turn it up to 10, 11, 12, rip the dial off, and you go rocking and rolling. But you've really got to, when you're doing that, you have to truly be able to get lost in that persona, know every move, every situation, how they would handle themselves. And that's going to set the foundation and the basis for what you're going to present inside of your promos. It's going to make you, ultimately think about your settings, your reactions, your facials, uh, how you're going to put over an opponent, what your knowledge is, and your presentation of what the promotion itself wants to get over. Well, one of the things that always kills me is, you get somebody that is coming off with like some kind of like Undertaker-esque gimmick persona, but yet they're cutting a promo in their living room where you can see like family photos. Or, you got the Golden Boy, and I put him out here. He's a tremendous talent. This kid is 21 years old. He has all the intangibles that you cannot teach. He looks amazing. He is driven. He's learning his way inside of the ring. He can already cut an incredible promo. He's got to work on a little bit of interaction. Another suggestion I've told him is get into improv, study the stage. Those are things that are going to truly help you inside of professional wrestling across all of the platforms, but especially in your delivery and your promos. But he's the California God. I mean, he's kind of like that Zach Morris type that you kind of love to hate a little bit. But he submitted a promo to a promotion the other day where he's standing in front of a janitor sink. And it's
Weird.
where he could go to get quiet to cut a pro. It's like, no, why is the California God Carson Drake standing in front of a janitor's closet, sink, utility center or whatever? Go find something that's going to make sense. And if it's not the most idea, make sense of it for your character. And those are some of the things when you talk about if you have like an agent for WWE, AEW, whatever the case might be, that's kind of help you lead through. If possible, what I found to do is with my own promotions I've worked with, I love getting out there in the field with them. I love scouting locations for them. Obviously, if that's not always the case, it's so hard. They're out on the weekends. They're hitting other promotions. They're hitting other territories, making the towns. You can't do that all the time. So I at least always try to provide some sort of talking points for them. And those are some of them are very basic, and sometimes I'll get detailed if we have a story that we're trying to develop. But the very basics in any talent themselves, if this isn't being provided to you from the promoter, you need to search this out, ask the questions, ask the promoter, ask other people that are involved with the promotion. Obviously, you want to make sure that you got the promotion name correct. I always stressed, please say, in like our case, Professional Wrestling Alliance. Don't give me PWA. Outside of our bubble, no one knows what the hell PWA is. I need
Right.
you to say Professional Wrestling Alliance. You can work live pro wrestling in there too. Off the top, that's great. Know the show date, the venue. Obviously, try to get an address in there. I know sometimes you're rattling off the top of your head. You don't have things written down, cue cards in front of you there. At least know it's where it's at. Cheviot, Ohio, Lakewood, New Jersey, whatever the case might be. So you got to hit all of those big things. Know your opponent. Know a little bit about them. In professional wrestling, the best thing you can do is put your opponent on a pedestal. They have to come out and always say, "Oh, they're the greatest," but I'm going to take them in. You can subtly get around those things. And when you study the masters of the craft, the Haymans, the Cornets, they know how to do that. Where it would the kings of the backhanded compliment. So then you're drawing more interest into that program, that match. So again, we're talking people through the door, letting them know where you're at, who you're representing, what you've got going on.
With that too, I didn't even kind of think about that, but that's true. When they're cutting the promo by themselves, like in their house or whatever, from their phone, because obviously that's a completely different ballgame and something that needs to be done nowadays, especially when the guy is not a local guy and they're cutting a promo. Sometimes, you see them in their car or, wherever they
Oh
can
my
get quiet,
God.
or wherever they can
I
get
was waiting for that one.
quiet
This
space,
one
right? I mean,
drives me
yeah,
crazy. And it is the laziest promo that can actually be cut. And there's only one case out there that I can even let this thing slide. And that's Brutal Bob Evans, who has kind of made that like his thing, where he's cut it. It's kind of just,
yeah.
it's I don't know if it was a rib thing, but it's turned into like it's worked itself. The shoot and the work of like blurred. So he gets, but to me, if when a talent like approaches you, they give you their booking fee, and you go through some expectations as well. So
Right.
I can be there early. I'll be there early for ring crew. I'll be there to tear down. I'll cut you a promo. I'll share social media. Those are your very basics, and that should be expected. So, but you're going to get a little bit better pay out of that. So inside of that pay, the promoter needs a little bit more from you than while you're driving back and forth from school or work, training, whatever it might be, different shows, than just sitting your camera up on your dashboard or sitting in the McDonald's parking lot while you're waiting them to bring out your Big Mac, cutting your promo there. That is absolutely the laziest approach that you can get from a talent.
I've seen that more often than not, though, in the car, and sometimes they're driving, sometimes they're stopped at the gas station. Like you could tell. I mean, you could see the background. You see what's going on. Just interesting kind of way to go about it. I don't know if they're just trying to get it over and done with, or if they just don't care. But
That is a case there. That's what's going to separate certain talents. Some of them you can give them the talking points. They'll send you back. They'll give you cuts. They know their persona. They'll do the video editing for you. They'll play some music behind it. Those are the individuals that you want to continue to bring back because they are piquing the interest of your potential audiences, of the people that live in the neighborhoods that you're shooting the draw from. These people that are just shooting in the car, they kind of stumble over their words. They know very little about the opponents, the show itself. And it really comes off in so many cases you see in a car. They don't know who they are as a professional wrestler.
right,
And it goes back again, move sets do not sell. They're nice little, the spice that makes things nice. You're going to wow people during the show, but they're not bringing people to the building. It is about personas and stories. And that is your first impression with that promo.
when these guys are cutting these promos, obviously they have all the information at hand. Have you ever had to say, "Hey, you got to reshoot this, recut this, go to a different location"? You didn't say this. You didn't say. Do you do that a lot, or it's almost like, "Oh man, we're gonna have to edit this and figure this out, how to deal with this bad promo or ineffective promo in essence."
I have, and a lot of what comes from the promo is what I've been able to learn. Obviously working so close with Hameen, and I mean he's arguably the best promo out there on the indie scene, maybe in all of professional wrestling. And the dedication that he puts into it, he's instilled that in me. Also, listen to Timmy Baltimore talk about the importance of how we verbally draw people in. That presentation, Silvio has taught me so much inside of that. McNailer, I mean, you got some guys that have the best minds that have lended, that knowledge to me. And I will absolutely, I want to pass that on to the people I'm working with. And I will. I won't be cookie cutter about it. I'll say, hey, that was garbage. You missed these points. And a little bit net because I do give them talking points and I do give them certain directions that I hope I provided them with enough that we can begin to avoid that, or I kind of failed as a promoter. Because first thing on my list, I do go through, please say Professional Wrestling Alliance. These are the details about the show. And then right after that is, do not film this in your car. And then it is, know your persona, know your location.
As far as like you were saying, like the Golden Boy filming it in like the janitor's closet, like I don't know where do they get the thought of like I guess this will come off okay, or maybe people can't see the background, or I don't know. I always feel like the guys should be more self-aware, but they're not at all.
I think they do. And again, this goes back to they get so caught up. What matters ultimately, what they believe is movesets. And then I think, in talking to Carson, again, he's so young and he's learning so much, but he's so good so early. And it was, but my word sold it. I said, no, but we're still looking at the mop bucket, the 3-compartment sink,
Yep.
and all this clutter. Now, if you're stuck in a situation like that, make the best of it. Tell us why you're there.
Good point. Yep.
Maybe it is, hey, in his case, he was taking on Gaston Leroux. So, hey, Gaston, I'm not used to slumming down. I want to understand a little bit about where you come from. So I came to your mom or your dad's place of employment.
Right.
So
Nice.
now you're
Yeah.
using those. Going back a couple years ago, I was doing some production with Battle on the Border Pro Wrestling. And one of their producers, he was back there filming the post-match interviews. He had our group. They had just stolen, I will say. It was a great heat moment that they crowned their leader the new champion. And these guys run in a little clique. They're ballers. They're the marquee players. And the producer is shooting them on an old broken down ice chest in a utility closet. And he comes and shows it to me. And I said, I love the content. These guys are great. But they just got the championship. They should be popping champagne. I said, why didn't you go out there and corral some tables in a corner there and set like a VIP area for them? Or if you have to shoot there, you can't get that area. Have them explain that they had to come to this dump of a building, this dump of a town. Where the hell even are they? How is this the treat? The top of the kingdom.
Right.
Let's
Right.
get the hell out of here. You twist those things. And you're right, though, Ponzi. It's one of those, the biggest head scratchers inside of independent wrestling is they don't understand their surroundings and how that adds to what message they're trying to project.
I've seen some pretty good indies have, and the ones I've worked for too, they get the little backdrop. And through the magic of TV and the way you film it, it looks like this is some elaborate set, but it's really a little backdrop. Could be 5 feet wide, 10 feet tall, or 8 feet tall, whatever it is. But it's a nice backdrop. Probably paid it maybe a couple hundred for it. So you got to invest in it too, and you got to have the logo on it. And maybe you could put it on the TV station you're on, or follow us on YouTube and all the socials. But they had that background. And you would never know that right next to it is some stage. It looks like, wow, they're in some cool arena or some cool venue, but through the power of TV, through the power of filming, you have a backdrop that looks good. So, I mean, even simple stuff like that, a lot of promotions don't realize, like, wow, that's an easy fix for like, oh, instead of, oh, let's go to the janitor's closet. You know what I mean?
Right. And, if you're kind of that big powering brute, go cut it at the gym. If you're that, that person that's so driven, you're that power heel or baby, you do it at the gym. I've had some people that really shy away from going out in public places to cut promos. Like, I don't want people look. You're a pro wrestler. You want people looking at you.
Right.
You want them intrigued. What the hell is going on over here? Then you open up those lines of communications. Then what else you're doing? You're not just, bettering yourself and cutting your promo. You're opening communication out in public. So it was another thing that we're getting ready to do is for my regular crew. I'm going to start having just individual cards made for them. Start conversations while you're out. Let these people know that you're a professional wrestler. Do things that kind of people kind of look at you a little strangely, like, what the hell's going on over here? Have fun with it. That's the whole thing about professional wrestling. You always got to be promoting. And you're talking about with like the banners now. We just had ours made. Got a good deal on it. About $165, a 3x5, has our logo right there.
Right.
It's kind of spaced out, so if I got two people, you can see the logo right between them, gives them plenty of room to stand there. Another favorite of mine that I always had, and you can get away with this for under $20. Remember the old Wrestling Society X,
Oh yeah, of course.
where they would cut their background, and it was single pieces of paper with their logo all taped up against the wall, and it creates a great illusion that you are on a elaborate set.
Yep.
Or even today, you can go get green screens. You can buy those online for a couple $100.
Yeah, that's it too. Green screen, yeah, for sure. It just to me, it's like, wow, the execution. I'm surprised that more of the companies either they don't care or they don't realize, like, man, it just doesn't look good when you're behind, like, in the Elks Lodge, you're behind like this wooden wall or whatever. You know what I mean? Just you got to change it up a little bit. This
And
isn't
again,
1995, you know.
sometimes you run into that. It's unavoidable. But again, play to the strength. Play to that strength. I know for Battle of Border, we used to do, and this is something I think he's gotten away from it, but in his early days, and it was pretty cool. And I think it was just so hard again because with people's schedules to get enough of the talent. And now he's kind of evolved to the point where they have so many people traveling in that it makes it a little more difficult. But when he had local, he would actually run promo days. And he'd invite everybody out, sometimes to the location of the show if they had like a little, bar restaurant area, or would go to a general area, go downtown Cincinnati where you could find really cool different landmarks and settings that would kind of fit the personalities. And we would kind of hit the city filming different vignettes, promos for the different talents. So, I mean, that was kind of cool because you got to be hands on with a handful of talent. I think the last time I did that, I was with Rev Pro and I was with the Kings of Chaos, and I was cutting a couple different promos for them. And this is one of those things I get from Hameen. So these guys, they're kind of a deep, dark, demented sort of duo. Devastation's the name of the game. Nothing really crosses the line. So I actually kicked in the gate of an old abandoned mausoleum. I had these guys so freaked out they wouldn't go in the thing.
Oh, come on, that would have been awesome.
Right. So I'm like, here, I said, let me show you. So I slammed the gates back shut and I'm cutting the promo for them. Now I said, now you guys get in there, do something like that. They refuse to go in there. And what really inspires me to truly go seek that perfect location is he was outside of a military base in full gear. So he's out there as the 19th Prince of the House of Assad. He jumped the fence and went over and ran over and cut a promo next to an aircraft.
Wow, that's dedication right there. Did he get in trouble?
I don't believe so.
He dodged a bullet there. Got out just in time. Literally dodged a bullet.
No, and I'm not encouraging people to go break the law or do something that's going to get you in trouble. But it's the commitment and the dedication that makes that pop. That's going to sell. It's going to move those feet to those seats through that gate.
When the guys are, cutting effective promos, do you notice some like return on that investment, so to speak? Like, do you notice them bringing people in? Do people say like, hey, this guy cut a great promo? I don't know, Shane Taylor or somebody like, hey, he cut a great promo. Now I'm interested in the show. Now I'm going to come down to the show. Have you seen that?
Yes, absolutely. And it is where you're seeing certain trends really move and I don't say move, but evolve in professional wrestling. And again, it goes back to talking in the building. Well, you used to have local television for that. Now we have social media. And if you can hit those right platforms, those local neighborhood groups, those wrestling enthusiast groups, whatever the case might be, they get entertained. You perk their interest in that promo because they're seeing the emotion. They're buying into the individual. They're making that connection. They're going to be more likely to attach themselves to, whatever you're selling.
The audience, obviously, the most important part for the indie scene. You need to sell tickets. What about the YouTube? Like, are you filming all the promos and not just social media, but do you put the promos into the show? Like when you edit it, do you put them a part of like the YouTube show, or do you put them part of like a DVD? Do you use those promos for anything outside other than pumping up the show?
No, I think, if when you're moving forward in your production, of course, 100%, you want to have those. And especially, we're talking, drawing the gate. So you're working local, you're trying to get that interest. Now, when you go to, you know, offer this to a streaming service, if you're going through YouTube, you got a much wider potential for an audience. But it also means you're going to have a much larger audience that isn't familiar with what you exactly have going on. So it is 100% nice to have some kind of little story package. Let those guys talk, show what they've done beforehand, before the match itself. There are some promotions that Future Graded does an incredible job with this. The Northern Wrestling Federation here does a great job with it. Battle on the Border does. In addition to gathering those pre-show promos, they've got a guy on the scene that's chasing down talents after matches and getting post-match cuts as well.
Ooh, I like that.
And those are really important inside of using, when they're creating. I think it's kind of odd that promotions still do this DVDs, because I think we've just, it seems like the way of the dinosaur. But through your streaming, whatever your outlets are post-show, those are going to keep people hooked. Okay, now I saw Aria Alexander get cheated in this match, but what did she think about it? So then you're laying that groundwork for the next show already, for the next step in the story progression.
With like the promos and everything, it's funny with like the DVDs, kind of making a little bit of a comeback. I don't know about the wrestling ones, but it seems like with the loved again media and all that other stuff, like people are liking to have physical media again. But it would be nice if wrestling media or wrestling DVDs made a big comeback, because they were huge back in the day, not that long ago.
Yeah, and I think it kind of brings like a good point to mind. You just got my wheels turning here, is in the marketing for Indy. And, we're always looking for that other angle for a buck.
Right. Yeah.
Is if you are taking the time to produce these things, and you're including, you've got all this work, you got the pre-promos, the match, the post promo, is maybe like a DVD of the month club for like a handful of wrestling promotions that they could get together, something like that.
Ooh, not a bad idea. So what did we miss as far as like promos and stuff? Do we miss anything about the indie promos? What you want, what you're looking for, what they need to cover?
Well, I think, the basics of it again, is it all starts with knowing your persona and mastering the craft of how you're speaking, how you're presenting yourself. That means, of going to a local, to get actual stage training, or an improv group, or just studying online to try to pick up some of those tips. But know who you truly are. Be able to truly live that persona, that character. Then you need to put over. It's live pro wrestling. You need to know the name of the company. Make sure you got the dates. You got the location of the show, where they can get tickets. Whatever that could be, just an easy social media drop. Know your opponent. Know some history. Know how to build them up. Know about any potential storylines that the promoter might want to push there. And then ultimately, know your surroundings. Look like a pro wrestler. And again, and we're talking about surroundings so much as well, here's another point, your wardrobe. You don't need to get in full gear every time. It is ultimately nice, but sometimes not realistic. But if you're if you're an outlaw biker, you probably shouldn't be wearing a Bart Simpson t-shirt in sandals.
Yeah.
So your wardrobe is just as important as your surrounding and the message that, the vocal message that you're delivering. And do research. Take some time. It's just not for the promoter that you're working with at that time, because this is going to be shared everywhere. And other promoters, other promotions are going to see that. And that's an attention grabber. They're going to make that connection. Before they even start looking at your ring work, you've already got them hooked. And it's a great selling tool as you're growing your own brand and network.
So with cutting the promo, we're talking about Ben, being a great one. Give me somebody out there we hadn't mentioned, whatever, that's been really good, effective. Like, hey, I want to watch somebody cut good promos, who could they watch?
Oh man, I mean, there's obviously we say Ben is just not the best in the indies. He's probably one of the best in the business. To go study and all those little nuances that we had talked about. And Ben goes to great detail to edit and do some things with his promos. And there's so many. There's another thing. There's so many programs you can just download onto your phone that allows you to edit and cut and drop music behind it. And that shows the promoters that you're going a long way. Also, another tip there: ask the promoter if they want you to release it or send it to them. I prefer that they send it directly to me because I like to put our graphics, our show information,
Good
all
idea.
of that onto the screen. So it's right there the entire time that the talent's talking. Another thing, social media things, try to keep your promos short and sweet. 2 minutes, 20 seconds. Make sure they can fit onto Twitter. Now, outside of Ben Hameen.
Yeah, another good point. Yeah.
Yeah. And, it's just like the classic going back to, the Challenge and Superstar Saturday Night Main Event days. Those guys never had long drawn out promos. You're backstage with Mean Gene, boom, 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 got your point across. We're rocking and rolling, right? So yeah, keep them short, sweet. The time is very important there. There's a guy I'm crazy about him now, and it was because of his promos. They pop me every time, and it's a gentleman, home base out of. He's doing a lot of work with Future Great Wrestling here in the Cincinnati area, but he just goes by the name Schwartzy. And I'll send you some of his stuff, man. It cracks me up. He has a little bit of a Borat, Schwartzy, baby. It was just his promos, and then I started watching him work. And now I've gone. I'll let it out of the bag here. It hasn't been officially announced yet, but it's going to be coming here as we are putting together our next show. It's going to be coming early January. Because to me, I don't even care if they lock up. It's going to be pure gold to me. It's going to be Schwartzy and Carson Drake because of what they both can bring verbally and just how their body emotes, their body language, the stories that they can tell. I think it's gonna blow people away. Like I told those two, I said obviously you're gonna have to, but me personally, I don't care if you lock up.
Nice. So let's head on over to the plugs. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at 2Man Power Trip. Check out the website, tmptempire.com. Of course, patreon.com/tmptempire. RBV, what do you got?
Well, as always, when you have me on these Pro Wrestling 101s, I like to encourage everyone to go over and give my company a follow. That is the Professional Wrestling Alliance. You can catch us across social media, Pro Wrestling Alliance or the Professional Wrestling Alliance. Most of our content on Facebook.com/Professional Wrestling Alliance, where you can keep up with me personally, the RBV, Richard Bronson Vickery, across all social media at the real RBV. And hey, I do have something cool to share with you. I haven't got to talk to you and Jargo in a little bit about this, but coming up a week from our record here, which is going to be November 6th, 2021. Mark that date because everyone's going to remember it. Because I'm going to be working with my good friends at Ascend Pro Wrestling for a little show called For the Record. And we are going to go into the Guinness Book of World Records for holding history's biggest wrestling match. We have 3 rings, 120 plus pro wrestlers, athletes and competitors are going to step inside this thing. They are ready to rumble in an over-the-top battle royal. So, and it's going to go down as the biggest match in pro wrestling history. We've already got everything kind of set away with Guinness. They're going to clarify it. We're going to be off and running, and I'm going to have the incredible honor of being the ring announcer for this tremendous event.
Wow, geez, your mouth is going to be tired after announcing all those names. Your throat's going to be sore. Geez.
I might have to renegotiate my contract if I have to call every elimination.
Is it called World War IV? After WWE had the 3-ring 60-man over the top battle royal, World War III. Might have to be World War IV.
We're going for that study just for the record. We're going for the record, the Guinness book, which is pretty cool. The gentleman that owns Ascend Pro Wrestling, he's the owner, promoter, and head trainer there. He's turning out some great talents to keep your eye out for. But Tim Lutz, Lightning Tim Lutz, he's already a record holder. Going back some time, this date also fell on a Saturday, and it was on November 6th. But I would say it was like 10, 12 years ago. Mr. Lutz won an Iron Man match that involved 6 competitors that lasted 12 hours. So he's already in the Guinness Book of World Records.
Jesus.
Yeah, so they're looking to do it again. So again, that's Ascend Pro Wrestling. You can check that out. For the record, and I got the great honor. I'll get to be the ring announcer for a little bit of history.
Nice. Awesome stuff there, RBV. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We'll see you right back here next week for a little Pro Wrestling 101. See you next week, folks.